Sure.
All right, so thanks again for meeting with me today, Greg. So to start off, is Evergrande, is it kind of in a similar situation compared to the 2008 financial crisis? What are your thoughts on that?
It's a great question. So thanks for having me. Right now, no. However, you just never know what the cause of a what I term a contagion event is. And one way of thinking of contagion is generally just a loss of confidence in all risk markets. It's when people want their money back. They just don't want to be at risk to declining asset prices. So at this point, the market's sort of battling between the the risk the risk offers versus the maintain the same level of risk. Whether these people that are maintaining the same level of risk have been short up until this point, meaning they haven't been at their investment bogey or in their investment weighting, and they just have to be happening to be investing at the absolute wrong time. You never know in hindsight. But these things are typically a bigger deal than the market first realizes, based on my experience.
Interesting, yeah. See, my only knowledge with something close to that would be watching the movie The Big Short. I'm pretty ignorant when it comes to the big banks and all that stuff.
That's a bit of a made-for-TV event as well. There were a lot of inaccuracies in there. Having lived it, though, the thing about that movie is, you see, Michael Burry and Steve Eisman were actually not the world's greatest traders, because they were so stubborn that they kept, they never stopped themselves out on their bet and tried to re-enter at a better level or when things were more clear. There's an expression, never short a bull market. And then by the same token, never be afraid to short a bear market. And what they were doing was essentially shorting a bull market, even though their thesis in the end was correct. They almost got stopped out because their investors didn't have the patience to live with them for that long. So there's an argument to be made that was a made for TV event. There's a lot of other guys that traded it a lot better than those two. That being said, hats off to them. In the end, they were correct. The unfortunate thing about Burry is that even though he was correct in the end, all his investors took their money back when they had the chance to, because they were so frustrated with how stubborn he was anyway, right? So, yeah, it's a tough business managing money. And
I can only imagine.
Yeah, it's only more tough when, you have your emotional demons to battle. Humans are very, very poor risk managers intrinsically. We like to sell our winners and buy our and keep adding to our losers, or hold our losers, when in fact the best traders are people that do exactly the opposite.
Yeah, just let that winning horse keep on going, right?
Attaboy. Absolutely.
Awesome. So what was your biggest takeaway from the Bitcoin conference 2021 in Miami?
Oh, what a great group of Bitcoiners there are in the world. And how great it is to be involved in a community that actually is trying to do so much good for the world. People want to make money. That's not a crime. But in general, it's my opinion that these people also want to improve the lives and livelihoods of so many people that are less privileged than they are.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I saw many interesting projects on the go. A lot of Bitcoin miners down there for sure. I tried to go to most of the Bitcoin mining speakers.
Yeah, and booths. Yeah.
And booths, yeah.
You know what? Look, it's a great community. There's a tremendous amount of talent from all different walks of life and experience. And it's a great event.
Yeah. One thing in particular with like the Bitcoin mining where I see some opportunity is like I used to work on drilling rigs. So we would drill the wells and sometimes those wells, they'll sit there for months on end, right? When I'm thinking like, well, why don't they just hook up like a generator and start printing Bitcoin, right? It seems like a genius.
There's guys that are trying to do it on more of a stranded energy basis. So wells that have lived their useful life from a drilling perspective, but it's same idea.
Yeah, 100%. So what can you tell me then about Validus Power Corporation? I see that's one of your new ventures you have on the go.
Yeah, Validus is a pretty interesting opportunity for Canada. Not, for me, what Validus is and they are energy experts, but at scale. Like, we're talking hundreds and even thousands of megawatts, which means a gigawatt. These are tremendous amounts of energy generation capacity. It's almost all natural gas. Some of it is flared natural gas, but it basically runs natural gas through essentially a jet turbine. Some of these jet turbines are 35 and 45 megawatt things of beauty, but those are large enough.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Super efficient, those turbines.
They're efficient, but they're also so darn powerful. I mean, they're powerful enough to power a data center. In some cases, a small city. These are big machines. So this is not about creating electricity to mine a few Bitcoin in your basement. This is about creating enough electricity to mine, tens of thousands of Bitcoin miners.
100%, yeah. And so do you guys just stick with the natural gas flares?
For now, I mean, there's opportunities that you could argue diversify or diversify into other renewables. We're not huge fans of the opportunity in solar energy right now, nor are we huge fans of the opportunities in wind, but that could change as the technology improves, as well as if the price of, the marginal price of consumption of energy or power increases to the point where solar energy does work on an efficient cost basis.
100%, yeah. There's lots of macroeconomics that come into play with all that sort of stuff, for sure.
Yeah, you know what the worst part is? It's a lot of macroeconomics and then a lot of tax benefits and breaks and all this garbage that reduces that 22-cent kilowatt hour solar true cost of energy down to something that you think you can actually make money at. Right now, that delta or that gap is too large. But government politicians are government politicians. You have to believe them if they tell you solar energy is good and it works. Physics is another thing.
Well, I almost think sometimes like how much of green energy is, it in my mind, part of it seems sort of like a scam. I don't want to call everything a scam, but it's all run on government subsidies, right? So
there's subsidies, but there's also the reality of it. Unless the typical windmill is actually placed in an ideal wind, call it a channel, where the wind blows consistently at the proper speed, 15 knots consistently, the energy used to produce the steel in that wind turbine will never be gained from the wind energy produced. It's math. Yeah. It's not a bad thing. It takes a certain number of tons of steel to produce the superstructure of that windmill, not to mention the fiberglass vanes and everything. And unless you're in the proper wind field over a 3-year period, you will never recapture the energy that was used to produce that particular windmill. So that's one thing. And then the same thing could be argued with solar energy and the pollutants and the it's green once the solar energy panel's made, but it's prior to it being made, it's one of the most polluting processes out there. So
yeah.
Then you take it to the extent, well, then hydro dams must be green. Yeah, okay, well, tell that to the, my business partner's Indigenous. Tell that to his nation that gets flooded out when the dam is put in and all the native lands are flooded, right? Just a lot of different things to consider. You're never given the whole story, particularly by government soy boys that that try and say that they wrap their their whole platform around green energy and fossil fuels are really evil. The cleanest energy ever created is nuclear energy. We're absolute idiots not to develop the nuclear energy expertise that we have in Canada. But there you go.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you anymore. And like you also have to think too, just about like the maintenance that goes into all those, all the infrastructure of green energy too, right? Like those are huge costs. And
There's everything. Again, it all comes down to, what your true cost is. We think it's, as I said, over 20 cents a kilowatt hour, whereas you can do natural gas, recently we were doing natural gas at under 4 cents. So you do the math, which one are you supposed to use?
Yeah, exactly. All right. And so this one, it's going to be maybe more of a tricky question for you, but do you think Bitcoin is going to become the global reserve currency of our world?
That's a good question. The answer is yes, with a caveat. It needs to become the global reserve asset first before it becomes the global reserve currency. So it'll be so the global reserve asset, how do we get there? As you know, the on-chain capacity of Bitcoin is only about 7 transactions per second. You'd never become a global reserve currency to compete with the likes of a fiat that's on the Visa platform, where you can do hundreds of thousands of transactions a second, which is necessary to run. Yeah. But as you know, the second layer of Bitcoin, the Lightning Network, allows you to vastly scale your transaction processes. But before that happens, and that's the currency aspect, I believe you have to become a reserve asset. And how does that happen? I think that happens when Bitcoin is used to price energy, or in other words, energy markets like oil and natural gas are priced in Bitcoin. And as an engineer, that's just a natural evolution for me. The rule of conservation of energy, Bitcoin's digital energy, you use proof of work to mine Bitcoin. If you're Vladimir Putin and you're selling your valuable natural resource energy for debasing US dollar fiat in the form of US treasuries, the engineer in him would probably say, hey, Vlad, wake up. You're supporting the currency of your sworn enemy, the United States, and you're getting a worthless piece of paper and a worthless debasing bond contract in return. Why don't you go out and price energy in Bitcoin, and who will ever pay you Bitcoin, that's who you do business with. And I think we're closer to that point. It will challenge the petrodollar system. That's a healthy thing, in my opinion. I think the petrodollar system is the basis of a lot of war and defense mechanisms. There's an argument that the US went to war in Iraq because Saddam Hussein, he was claimed to have weapons of mass destruction, but maybe another thing that people aren't that aware of is that he wanted to start pricing his oil in euros. And the US didn't like that. That's a challenge to the US dollar, petrodollar. Look, it'll be a process. The first one, I think, will happen when it becomes a reserve asset. And then the next one, does it graduate to a layer 2 solution and the Lightning Network? I say long-term, yes. Is it within my lifetime? I'm 58 years old, maybe not. Within your lifetime, let's hope so, because I think it'll make the world a better place. And it's only based on engineering, right? It's the law of conservation of energy. So natural resource energy priced in digital energy, so that you get your store of value in a pure form of digital energy or Bitcoin.
No, exactly, for sure. Yeah, and so for people like myself, I'm pretty young. I didn't come from a whole lot, so I have basically all my savings into Bitcoin. That's kind of my game plan for now. Some might say that's a little too risky. However, it's pretty good.
Look, it depends on it's not like you have. I hope, but who knows? Maybe I do hope you have kids, but I don't think you have kids right now. No. And life changes when you do have kids, and you have to. You might want to roll the dice, and this isn't rolling the dice. Long term, it's the exact right thing you can do. I often say that the price of Bitcoin right now, in my opinion, is a rounding error based on the price I think it can go to, but nothing's 100% certain. I certainly don't have everything that I've worked hard in my life stored in Bitcoin. I just don't manage my risk that way. But again, I have 3 kids. I have other obligations. Plus, I'm a trader. I have absolutely a core holding in Bitcoin. It's higher than average. I'm certainly advocating everybody gets off of zero, but that doesn't mean getting off of zero exposure means going all in, putting 100% of your financial assets into Bitcoin. But what do I have? I have probably 40%. And that's a lot, because the other that I have that I own is I do own some precious metals, and I do own real estate. Everything I have is in a form of harder assets. I own some equities. I tell you what I don't own is any bonds. I think anyone who owns bonds at any age right now absolutely failed grade 11 math, and they actually don't understand what a bond contract is. But we'll leave that for another day.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I guess I should rephrase how I said that though. I'm like 90% Bitcoin, 10% altcoins. I recently got out of the stock market. Took my
cash. The
fact
that you even had stock investments though, at the age of 22, which I think you shared with me is your age.
Yeah.
The fact that you had equity investments at age 22 is, I applaud you.
Thanks.
Most people don't understand the equity markets until they're far older.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm not certain I would advocate the altcoin exposure that you have, but that's okay too. I'm not smart enough to tell you if you're right or wrong.
Yeah. Well, I guess my strategy is take the profits from the altcoins, put it directly back into Bitcoin right away.
Yeah, so, yeah. It's always nice when you say take profits. What happens if you get your head handed to you, though, right? Like, I mean, then
exactly.
Then, but don't.
The rest of my life, I'm not here to back though, right?
So. I'm not here to diss. Your strategy is way more healthy than a lot of people out there. So,
for sure. So, have you been keeping up with like NFTs lately? Like, what are your thoughts on NFTs?
I don't. I mean, no? I know that they will exist. I was at a conference probably 3 or 4 years ago, and one guy showed a reaction of a gamer. And when I say a gamer, a guy that plays a game where he actually has to purchase a gun, like it's a toy gun, or it just only belongs on the video game. Yes. And he won this gun somehow. I don't even know how that works. Maybe he had to pay a certain number of points, but he honestly reacted so emotionally. You would have thought he won the 649 jackpot, and all he really won was this gun that made him feel really good about himself, which I don't think there's any difference between winning a gun and an NFT. If it makes people feel good, that's fine. There's different ways of measuring value. I will tell you that if you live your life in a certain way, yes, a positive emotion is definitely worth some value to a lot of people. And if that's what makes you happy, and you're the owner of a token that indicates ownership of a certain digital asset, go for it. I'm not going to tell you not to do that. I'm in the business of managing risk. I will tell you that I think, by and large, most digital assets will fail, just like most equities fail, though, right? That doesn't mean that equities are bad just because most equities fail. That's just a fact. Equities are risky, and over time, most of them fail. I don't expect that to be any different in the digital asset space.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, with NFTs, I've just been kind of trying to keep up with it and look for the use cases of it. And one of the most interesting use cases that I've seen for it is there's this podcast called My First Million. And they recently sold an NFT on a platform called OpenSea. But this NFT gives you rights to talk on their podcast for 5 minutes. And it's selling for $17,000 right now. So they put it up for $800. It got all the way up to 17,000 in the span of like a week and a half.
Yeah.
And so I'm thinking, well, hey, that's, in my mind as a young guy, that's an investment, to maybe use a year down the road. Maybe it's worth 50,000. I think they're getting thousands of followers every month.
Yeah,
right?
look,
they are growing. So
I'm not going to argue with you, but the last thing you can ask me, don't ask me for any advice on a social platform or technology over and above what I've studied, because I'm not the one you should be asking. You got to ask the younger guys, right? The younger kids.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, I just thought it was
it's good.
the way
Fine.
NFTs are going.
Okay.
Yeah. Right on. So other than Bitcoin, what would you say are some other big opportunities in our world today?
I wish I had like a whole handful of things. Aside from other digital assets, which I'm not going to comment on. Again, I just want to reiterate though, there'll be winners and losers in that space, but my anticipation is there'll be far more losers than winners. So you got to pick your spots really carefully there. The big opportunities is nothing more than the change that's going to take place. I hope it's positive change in the next 10 years, which if it's positive change, it'll be a very exciting place for our young kids to secure their future. I'll couch that by saying I've never seen such incompetence at the political level in my career. Just when you thought a politician couldn't get any more inept, we outdo ourselves. This whole thing with Trudeau in Canada is an absolute embarrassment. He spent $600 million of money that we don't have to call an election to win 3 more seats than he had last time. So 3 seats did nothing. He only got 32% of the popular vote. Spent $600 million, wasted everyone's time, the environmental impact of all those idiot signs that he prints up and all that shit. And no one's going to call him out on it. And he's going to walk around with his glib little smug smile about monetary policy. Forgive me if I don't think about it. So that guy is an absolute, he shouldn't be a politician. I guess he should be a politician. He shouldn't be the leader of a country, right?
Yeah, I'm pretty disappointed in him as well. And
a
lot of Canadians, I'm kind of disappointed with the path we're heading down. But
we've been going down that path for a while. We got to be careful though. My belief is in the future of kids like yourself, Leaf. So keep doing your studying, keep thinking outside the box, work hard, play hard, understand that politicians cannot print themselves or the population to prosperity. It is a losing mathematical endeavor to try and print your way to prosperity. And Trudeau's an absolute math illiterate. Okay, I'm pretty sure he failed his grade 11 math. He never took physics, and he's an embarrassment to a CEO of any enterprise, let alone a country, and a great country like Canada. So we gotta fix those problems.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you anymore there, Greg. Mm-hmm. All right, so your Bitcoin price prediction for the end of the year, and are you a believer in the stock to flow ratio?
I won't give you a price target for the end of the year, but I will tell you.
Are we gonna break over 100K?
I have a bet on with a money manager in Boston that we do, but I don't care if we do or don't. I'll give you my long-term price target. It's over $2 million a Bitcoin. Wow. I can tell you how I get there. There's some foundational mathematics and macroeconomic principles. It's not a difficult thing. I'll give it to you very quickly. I'll give it to you very quickly. It's right now in total global financial assets in the world, $900 trillion. Okay, that includes real estate, bonds, equities, fine art, commodities, currencies. All financial assets are worth over $900 trillion. As we talked before, I believe that Bitcoin will become the reserve asset of the world once energy is priced in Bitcoin. So is it crazy to think that Bitcoin could attain a 5% market share of that total addressable market of $900 trillion? I don't think 5% is excessive at all. So what's 5% of 900 trillion? Is $45 trillion. What's 45 trillion divided by the fixed supply of 21 million Bitcoin? You're over $2 million a Bitcoin, just on that math. And I think it goes a lot higher than a 5% market share. So I'll give you a $2 million price target. I just won't tell you when. I'll also say I think it's probably within my lifetime, but I don't know how long I'm going to live. And hopefully it's within your lifetime or my kids' lifetime. I'm doing this for my kids, not for myself. Bitcoin is the most beautiful technology I've ever seen, and it solves so much of the financial improprieties on the fiat-based credit system that I've been brought up in over the last 30 years of trading and managing risk.
Awesome. Yeah. That's optimistic and makes me feel good about the future. So that's
it's
awesome.
optimistic. How about this? We call it realistic. Okay. It's
Well,
not
it's
certain.
realistic, 100%.
It's not
Yeah,
realistic. Sorry. It's not, it's pure math. It's based on probabilities. It's not 100% certain, but it could be very realistic. So hedge yourself or get off of zero. If you own 0 Bitcoin, you're taking far more risk than if you have a proper portfolio allocation.
Right on. Thanks, Greg. And what's the best advice you would give someone my age?
Work hard, play hard. You know, life is to be enjoyed, but you can't. You know, it's not a free ride. You gotta give before you take. We live in a great country. All these guys that are sitting at home, I'm involved in some businesses that's struggling to staff our payroll right now because you know, the government's giving a lot of young kids money, and they get paid more to sit at home and do nothing than they do to come to work and put an honest day work in. So work hard, play hard. Don't take printed money for granted. The end game is a very unhappy place. Do not listen to the idiots like Pierre or Justin Trudeau. He does not understand math. Learn math, study, work hard, play hard.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much for your time today, Greg. And till next time.
I look forward to our next time, Leaf. Thanks for having me.
All right. See ya.